online, I guess. Not that I don't go by Danny.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, chef. I mean, I always appreciate the respect of that word, just because
Sure.
I feel like a lot goes behind that a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't really recognize.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time management, and it's just a respect thing in the kitchen. Especially like when you get to higher pedigree kitchens, it's just kind of a respect thing.
Heard.
Exactly, her brother.
Yeah. Like I said.
Behind.
Yep. Corner. I get it.
Sharp, sharp,
Sharp,
hot.
sharp.
You name it.
Yeah.
Yes, chef. We're on the Wild Edible World podcast, chef.
Yes, chef.
I'm Michael, your host, chef.
And I'm Steve, chef, your host.
Today
Also-
we're just having fun today
Yeah,
on
we're just being little gooses.
goofy episode, the Wild Edible World podcast. I'm your host, Michael.
And I am Steve.
Today we have a really cool a friend of the show, friend of the podcast, Danny Pejsa, although also known as outdoorsman _ chef on Instagram, and I believe on all platforms.
No, I'm just on Instagram. I really haven't transferred over a lot of my foraging things to Facebook, although I just kind of share things,
All right,
you
no
know how like
TikTok.
Instagram and Meta.
I think there is a
Just
picture.
No,
meta,
no
you
TikTok.
commies.
There's a picture of you in a
No.
boat, so that's cool.
Yeah, no, that was me in the Boundary Waters 4 years ago. My back literally was killing me in that photo, not gonna lie. And I was just totally slouched.
Yeah.
So my friend got a perfect photo of me, and it was hilarious. It's an inside joke for all of us.
Pretty
That's
darn
awesome.
cool.
So, Danny,
Yeah.
you're a chef, a forager, outdoorsman. We kind of started getting in touch, I think, around the Midwest Wild Harvest Festival, maybe?
Yeah.
Because you worked in the kitchen for them?
Yep. Yeah, I had the great honor to work with Alan, and then Chef Lorenzo Cooks.
Yep.
Yeah, man, and just the entire kitchen team too. There's a few people that aren't really on social media, but I mean, everyone in that kitchen was amazing. And yeah, that's kind of just where we kind of first really met up.
So jealous about that kitchen crew, man. Once Lorenzo was like, "Yeah, I got to work with Alan," and then I saw that you were on. I was like, "Jesus, that sounds like the best cooking time. Cooking's the best."
Yeah, man, and I really got lucky, and it was mainly honestly due to the fact that I got luckier earlier in the summer. In June, I was in the area. I told Alan, hey, I've been finally wanted to meet you. I've been conversing with Alan for years. And it was just like, hey, I'm in the area if you want to meet up and whatever. He's like, actually, I'm cooking for Samuel Thayer's newest book party. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's just like, you want to cook with me for it? I'm like, yeah? Like, what?
No way. You're at the book party?
Man.
Yeah, so I
sounds
actually got the
awesome.
invite just due to a guy bailing on him. Basically, I was helping him out the day before, and that guy was supposed to come up from Milwaukee, which is originally where I'm from. And cook, but he just bailed. He's like, I'm sick, man. And he's just like, okay, bridge burned entirely, so I'll take the opportunity.
Yeah, no joke. I can't imagine. I could be like vomiting out my eyeballs, and I would still show up.
Shit,
Like,
I'd show up in a
let's
coffin,
go.
man. I'd still be
Yeah.
there.
To meet Samuel Thayer on top of, many well-respected foragers in the field, Linda Black Elk was there,
Oh yeah.
her husband, who else? Alexis Nelson, Black Forager was there. A few other like really top notable names, man, from around the country. And
I think Gabrielle was there, too.
yeah, Gabrielle was also there. She was an amazing person. But man, just the venue entirely, that farm up in northern Wisconsin was just an absolute beauty. Not to mention that there was at that time black locust flowers were like in
Oh.
their peak
That's the
form,
best.
and
Damn it.
oh my God, man,
I'm so
easily
jealous.
my new found wild edible last year that Alan put me onto,
Oh,
and
sure,
since
yeah.
then, man, like It's just such an underutilized flower, and I don't blame it because they grow really high a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They're
Like there's
so
not
good.
there. Oh man, but when you can get those few low branches, like
Hmm.
take advantage, man. It's like Mario coins, is what Alan told me, and it's so true because you're literally just like and
Yeah.
just go in the bag.
Yeah, I love
No,
black
so yeah.
locust.
You introduced me
Oh
to
my
them,
God.
Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've tried many different applications. I don't know what you guys have done, but my favorite preparation for them, besides just having them raw on like a salad, Samuel Thayer will do that all the time. But it was actually ice cream. I made a black locust ice cream last year
Ooh.
as soon as I found
Damn.
these, and I had saved, oh, what did I save? I saved some sort of preserve. It was either a persimmon preserve or something, I can't remember. But on top of that, man, it was just oh no, it was the black raspberry and basil jam that I did.
That sounds incredible.
Oh.
Like honestly,
Dude,
even just
that
the ice cream sounds great by itself, but you topping
yeah,
it with a little
seriously,
bit of
man,
that.
it's that light floralness that you get because you want to steep with any ice cream base, you want
Mm-hmm.
to steep it really low,
Sure.
to not kill off any of the flavor. But yeah, man, you steep those low for like 10, 15 minutes, strain it out. You have like the most it's not like extremely floral. I think that's the best part I like about it. It's not like
Hmm.
rose
Yeah.
where you can like easily overpower dishes with rose.
Sure.
But black locust is just that nice, beautiful undercut that you get like at the back of your palate, and you're like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe what I'm tasting right now.
I've made
No, it's
honey
awesome.
with it. It's just like a really small batch of like black locust honey. I dried them for tea. I really like if you can
Nice.
catch them in the right phase because they
That's the
already
thing.
like go really quickly, but they still have like an even finer perfection of like pulling them from the tree when they're still like sweet and haven't already been like harvested from by an insect or something. But
Yeah, no, I think the most crucial thing with those, because they do have such a short season, and obviously this is like totally out of people's control, but if you can get them before a lot of rain hits,
oh yeah.
and washes out that nectar, like and that was the thing is like when Alan and I were both like he saw them immediately from the road, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't see what you're talking about. But now that you like, if you know what they are and you see them, like even now, right? Like they're not even up. Every white flower that I'm seeing right now, I'm like, is that a black locust? There's no way they're up this time. But yeah, man, that's just such a I think that's just the power of what wild food has, right? That's like why we're all enamored by it, is
Mm-hmm.
that it
Hmm.
has a flavor that no human can replicate, right? Like nature already knows what it's doing. It knows its flavor capacity, and it doesn't top that threshold. So like some things will be light, and you kind of have to work with them because like a lot of like wild greens, aside from like maybe like ramps and a handful of others, they have a really light taste, frankly bitter. So it's like you
Yeah.
kind of have to work with those, restrictions that nature gives you. But I think that's the fun of it, right? I mean, that's the whole part of cooking is that, you're never on a perfect recipe until like you've gotten, I don't even know. I mean, hundreds if not thousands of tries. Some of the best dishes in, three-star Michelin restaurants, like they've probably been working on that dish for like a year, man. Like that's what people
Sure.
don't realize.
Well, and the flavor of a lot of these wild plants too. This kind of hails back to something we've talked about a lot on this show, which is the presence of bitterness, or just
Hmm.
like whole parts of flavors in our palates that we regard as bad or not good or whatever. And a lot of that it's like legitimate survival things that are built into our DNA to recognize certain flavors and compounds to not taste good so that we don't die. Because most of the
Yeah.
stuff that's poisonous or toxic really doesn't taste good. And
Hmm.
it's like pretty easy to not eat it, in my opinion. No shame on the people
No,
that have made that mistake. Rest in peace. But the idea that it's. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just no, I mean totally along those lines. I mean, it's insane. Like one of my friends, that really got me into foraging growing up, and I will never tell anybody to do this. I think this is the most insane thing that he does. But he's a really big mushroom hunter, and he'll test a mushroom that is not like really a 100% sure on, like he knows like generally like what like class it's in, like whether it's like, a certain polypore in the Balee class,
Mm-hmm.
yada yada. He'll literally like put a little bit on his tongue, and he's just
Yeah.
like, if my mouth goes a little numb, I won't eat it. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
That's actually,
it's obviously a safe thing because he's not fully ingesting it, but
yeah.
still, like I would never advise people to do that right off the gun, you know?
No, it's not. But it's an interesting perspective to give people because we just had this conversation
Yeah,
with
like 2 seconds ago.
yeah. Well, in real time, it's a few seconds ago, but in
Yeah.
Podcast
it
world
was
last
week.
week. Yeah.
He with our friend Spencer, he talked about just the serious density of mycophobia and how it is a pretty accepted method of identification.
It is, yeah.
To put a mushroom in your mouth, and people are like, "Aren't you afraid?" It's like, no, plants are scarier than mushrooms. You can physically
Oh,
handle
100%.
and put every mushroom in your mouth. You cannot handle every plant. I mean, that'll mess you up.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I like how you bring up that word, like kind of like myophobia was like when I was teaching an earlier foraging class this year, I was teaching at like an outdoor symposium, and they like finally like wanted to like get foraging into the mix because they were mostly like started with like a canoe and like like mountain bike kind of like groups of people, but they wanted to get foraging into the mix. I was like, of course I'll do it, and a lot of people were like, I would get into it, but it's just. I'm just afraid, like I'm like, of course, like everyone's afraid when we first start getting into this. You don't like nobody knows anything, but
And it
you'd be
deserves a respectable amount
surprised.
of caution too. That's not
100%.
unreasonable.
Yeah, it's gonna take you years. I understand, especially in our day and age of immediacy, like people just want things now. Like
Uh huh.
they don't want to learn things fully. But what I try to tell a lot of people there was like, it took me a lot of years too to kind of really get comfortable with a lot of things. But every year, especially if you get like into like the full botany of a lot of these plants and mushrooms, like the amount of knowledge just compounds, right? Like
Yeah.
here's a great example, mint, right? Like we all know mint, like things in the mint family have a square stem. So like from there on, it's just like you start to learn those types of things, and eventually like multiple things will just hit and click you at once. And I think that's what a lot of people don't really understand. They're like, I need to learn every single plant. Like I'm like, yeah, to a certain extent, but not really,
Mm-hmm.
Like you just need to learn a few characteristics,
I need to learn
and
everything
from there,
right now.
Yeah.
yeah, no, like make the mistakes, but like obviously in a safe way, I'll tell anybody, even if you're 100% sure that you have a morel, take one or two, try it out, see if you like it. If you don't like it, that's okay, more for me.
Exactly.
But at
Yeah.
the same time, like just things in small amounts, like when we're first getting into this.
Yeah, absolutely. With education, with consumption, all that. I mean, your body's, especially with consumption, everybody's body is different. And because these aren't the same 20 vegetables and mushrooms that we've had in the grocery stores for years, there is a small chance for anybody that you could have like a small weird reaction to something just because
Definitely.
life is like that.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, definitely some caution. What do you do? Do you have any other classes coming up or anything like that?
So I'm busy trying to figure that out. Like I'm in the process of, while I'm setting up my website, figuring out times I want to have classes. But I'm also, it's been a crazy month, man. I just got done moving a little bit closer to my job just because so where I work now, I work at a restaurant just outside of Detroit. It's called Sylvan Table. We're a farm to table restaurant. And while I will say that that term has gotten very like outused, like overplayed. Like we're like actually a farm to table restaurant. We're located on 5 acres and we farm on three of them. So literally, like when people are walking through the door, you can see our farm just right there.
More like
That's awesome.
instead of farm to table, it's more like table on farm.
Yeah, exactly. And I when I saw the place and my girlfriend and I went there for our anniversary dinner last year, I was just like, I gotta work here. It's
Oh shit!
just
And you got the job. Nice.
yeah, no, I literally brought my resume the night of. Talked to our head chef Chris DeGala, and I was just like, "Here's who I am. I live in Lansing, Michigan currently, and there's no restaurants there. I'm sorry. So, like, no offense to Lansing, but the food scene there is just it's not big."
Oh man, yeah. Good for you for reaching out and taking it. That's really cool.
Yeah, so sorry, back to just kind of the original question. So it's been a busy month. I've been moving closer to work, but I do plan on having some classes this upcoming summer, both at the farm, hopefully at Sylvan Table, and then
Ooh.
also just my own outside, just going on foraging walks. I don't want anything
Yeah.
to be super formal. This past fall, I gave like an entire like talk series called Foraging on Tap, which is kind of like a spin-off from my girlfriend's biology on tap that she did through MSU. My girlfriend's getting a PhD in evolutionary genetics at MSU.
Whoa.
So yeah, no, I mean, talk about smart cookie man. I don't know how I got so lucky, but yeah, so I did that foraging on tap series, just kind of as a spin-off. They thought it'd be something that people would be interested in. They were already doing it at a conservatory, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But it was a PowerPoint. I did a 4 point or 4 class PowerPoint series on
Wow.
just everything foraging, right? Like the basics of foraging, learn specific botany terms, learning like plant habitats and like where you're more likely to find certain things, because we all know that, plants like their like certain habitats and everything. And then the final one I just did, just cooking with wild edibles, why I actually got into this in the first place. So yeah, no, that was fun, but it was very, very formal. And while I liked that and I think it was helpful for a lot of people, I think it's more helpful to be in the actual field, like seeing these
Oh
things.
yeah.
I was lucky enough to actually attend Clay Bauer's foraging class in Lansing this past
Ah, that's
weekend, which
right. Yeah, I saw you post
which
that.
is awesome. Awesome,
You
man. The
said this
guy is
weekend?
so, yeah, no, it was just this past
Oh,
weekend on
nice, nice.
Saturday. Yeah, man, he is one of the most knowledgeable people there is out there too, I would say, definitely top 10 um in terms of just actual like what am I trying to say? Like old school knowledge on
Yeah, it's
foraging,
not like
man.
just because he read about it. He's been doing it for, I can't remember how old he is, but he's been teaching for like 18, 20
14
years.
years, like 14 years,
14, yeah.
man. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think he's 41 now is what he said. But yeah, man, I would encourage anybody that's in the Michigan area. He's located in Traverse City, but he does classes everywhere. Go check out his Instagram. He's just a really funny guy. He really kind of tries
Yeah, he's
to,
all right.
make a humor on on foraging. But yeah, no, so that was a fun class. I really
I think we're
think,
funnier.
Yo, no, I will not argue that, man. You guys just got a certain just vibe to you guys. I love it. You guys just make it so personable, and
Yeah, all right.
that's
That's
what
what I
we
was looking
need.
for. Thank
It's very
you.
Yeah,
nice. It's
Thank
very
you're
nice.
welcome. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you so much.
No, of
uh,
course, you guys.
yeah, so let's talk about like the first foraging and grade. Do you have like a specific memory from your family or something like the first time you were ever introduced to a wild plant that you ate?
In all honesty, man, like I've always heard that question that you guys have asked other guests, and I like try and think back, and like during my childhood, there's nothing that like really fully stands out to me. It was more when I was cooking in restaurants and I found ramps for the first time out in the wild when I was just, out on hikes. And I finally tried it and I was just like, oh my God, like this is so much better than what we're actually getting in the restaurant. And it's because it's like right there, you know?
Mm.
Because these things will lose their flavor quite quickly.
Oh
I
yeah.
will say that. Like unless you
Yeah.
process them like day of or the next day, like you're losing a lot of flavor out of these
Well, it's
things.
like the whole appeal of a farm to table, right?
Sure.
Of cooking where you're picking the vegetables, where you're maybe processing the animals or what have you. Nothing tastes as good as like either preserved or the freshest ingredient. Like
Yeah.
a tomato right off the vine is like, uh, so
Absolutely.
No, I
fucking
know,
good.
man. I think the tomato, I think, is the best example that we have here in America, right? Like, I hate, hate, hate that we can get tomatoes year round. They don't taste like anything.
They taste
It's just
awful.
straight waddle, like straight water. Not even awful. They just don't taste like anything. And it's like, this is like what you're introducing people to be a tomato, and they like unless they actually grow their own food or are somehow in the span of their lifetime influenced to the farm to table movement, or I more will reference it as the slow food movement, right? I think that's a better accurate description for
Sure.
what we're kind of in right now. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's just necessary, right? Like there's no way that we can feasibly keep going on the food route that we're going on.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's just due to government subsidies, right? Like that's the reason why a lot of these monoculture farms are stuck in their ways. It's not because they want to, it's because they're just become dependent.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't recognize that. But I think the people that have and have made the tough decision in agriculture to, tough it out for 3 years, it's going to be tough transition, right? Like, there's no way that any farm could go from agriculture to like a full permaculture system in a year, right? Like, it takes
Right.
time
Yeah,
to
impossible.
develop that. But I think, with any change, it's slow. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't start it.
Agreed.
So,
100%.
Yeah, I think they should
You
offer
know?
some sort of subsidy for
Other subsidy, yeah.
exactly, for
And there
organic,
is, there's
responsibly
is
raised, blah 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 blah. The whole spiel. I feel like it should be, encouraged more than it is.
yeah, no, and there are programs that the government does offer to help people, cover the cost of land because that's the biggest like milestone for a lot of people, right? It's just like I just don't have the money to straight up buy the land in the first place, dude, because
Yeah.
a lot of this is generational land. And it's been in the family for years, and that's all that they know. Like my grandfather grew corn, so I'm going to do the same damn thing.
Or Steve Jobs bought it all.
Yeah, well, that's well, we're not going to go down the whole
Or not
BlackRock
Steve Jobs.
discussion.
Bill Gates.
we'll save that for another
Yeah.
podcast.
Steve Jobs
I was
is
like,
buying
whoa,
shit,
I didn't
yeah.
know about that. I knew he ate fruit and stank, but I didn't know he was buying corn and
Sorry, Steve. R.I.P.
yeah, R.I.P.
Dude,
Robert.
yeah, no, just I mean,
Yes.
even Bill Gates, dude. I mean, the amount of land that Bill Gates owns, dude, is scary.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's scary, dude. For
It's
anybody listening, like, look up,
Yeah.
look up how much land the dude owns, and it's like, what are you gonna do with that? What are you gonna do with that?
Conspiratorially,
What are
it's
you gonna do with that?
Yeah, it's freaky.
I'll let
It's
time
unnecessary.
play that one out. I'm not guessing.
Yeah, seriously.
But all I can say is, Bill Gates, if you ever listen to this podcast, please just don't fuck us. That's
Yeah,
all I
please
gotta
don't do
say,
that.
man. Please.
We should all write him a letter like, hey, break us off a little chunk, man. Let me
Yeah.
get like
Or
point.
just invest in permaculture, dude. Like you have the money, and it doesn't cost as much.
Let me get like 0.001% of the land you got, homie.
That's all I'm saying, man. All my girlfriend and I want,
Something-
and that's kind of why. Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say something with a little creek running through it,
Oh man, I'm a big fisherman too,
I
so that's
saw.
like heaven to me.
Yeah, I saw
It's heaven to
your
me.
photos of the last I think it was the last time you were in Alaska or something with the family.
Yeah.
And those fish are fucking beautiful, man.
Oh yeah, man. That's one of the heaviest salmon runs in the whole world. It runs through the Sitka River in Yakutat, Alaska. And yeah, I do a biannual trip there with my family. Luckily, both my aunt and my uncle, they're both veterinarians. So they're part of the Veterinary Sportsman Society. Like other doctors, they have to do continuing education every year just to keep their practice and license in check. So they just got together with a whole group of people in this outdoorsman society, and they just go up to Yakutat, Alaska, and fish for an entire week and do their continuing education in the afternoon. So the family,
Yeah, that's
I
the
know,
best.
no, it's crazy.
Sigh.
What's wrong, buddy?
Well, I just realized this mushroom supplement I bought isn't actually made with mushrooms. It's made with something called myceliated grain.
Myceliated grain?
Oh, no!
I'm sorry to tell you, buddy, but myceliated grain is a sure sign of a poor quality mushroom supplement.
Well, dang. I wanted mushrooms, not brown rice. What should I do?
Well, you should support a small batch producer from right here in the Midwest. Kiwino Apothecary.
Kiwino Apothecary, tell me more.
Kiwi Apothecary specializes in high-quality mushroom extracts from Michigan, and they always use real mushrooms, never myceliated grain.
That sounds like exactly what I've been looking for. Where can I order?
Well, you can find them at kiwinaapothecary.etsy.com. That's KEWEENAW, apothecary.etsy.com. Be sure to read their many excellent reviews.
Thanks, buddy. I don't want no low-quality mushroom products from a factory. I want Kiwina Apothecary.
Wowie wow! Wowie wow! We've got a new hot sauce for you.
It's so delicious.
It's spicy.
It's spicier for sure.
Spicier. It's called Harvest Moon, made with ghost peppers, American persimmons,
and spice bush berry.
It's gonna be great. We also have t-shirts available. Brand new t-shirts.
The best t-shirts, I think.
Baseball tees.
Scrumpers United.
If you've collected apples, if you've collected fruit, you're
welcome to the club.
You're welcome to a club. You're a scrumper. So check out our merch store, wildedelworldpod.myshopify.com. Wowie wow!
I'm so lucky to have that experience. It's like no other, man. I was finally able to bring Brooke, my girlfriend, this year, and it was a blast, man. I mean, just the amount of fish. It's like the Discovery Channel. I'm not even joking you. It's like the amount of fish that you see swimming through in front of you, like hundreds at a time, just like in pools. And like when the tide is low and they're running, you can like they literally make a wave. Like so you can see them coming up through the river in low tide, and yeah, you just gotta cast a couple of pink flies in front of them because when I go, which is in later August, that's typically the start of the pink salmon run, and then the silver salmon are just starting to creep into, but they're also in the bay, so we can actually go out in bay boats and fish for them. And man, some of the like I'm not a big salmon proponent. Mainly, in restaurants. And actually, luckily, I didn't even know this when I first started working at Sylvan Table, but we do not serve salmon at all.
That's great. Good for you guys.
Our chef, yeah, no, we really try and get, so lately we were just running a mackerel special because mackerel is a really sustainable fish.
Yeah.
Out of the Atlantic Ocean.
Delicious fish.
Recently, we were just actually getting in some lake trout actually caught by indigenous tribes up in northern Superior,
Hell yeah.
Siskowet. But it's basically lake trout. It's just like the indigenous name for the lake trout. And yeah, man, I mean, some of the most pink salmon, but unfortunately didn't get in the best condition. But it was still a great tasting fish, man. And yeah, no, I think fishing is another way that just to get closer to your food, I'm kind of starting to wanting to coin this term, just like in like whatever I'm promoting or anything. It's just really getting closer to your food, I think, is the answer to everything. I mean, I don't think everything that would go into trying to run permaculture throughout, the entire world and like really just trying to rebuild ecosystems, because we can work with nature. It's been proven. It's just we have to do it in a sustainable and ecological way. And I think, just getting closer to your food and doing the best that you can at that. And that includes foraging, that includes fishing, that includes hunting for your own food. Because I also hunt for my own food as well, just not as much as I would honestly like.
Sure.
But that's kind of my goal in the next few years, is really just to get back more into hunting, because that was something my dad and I always did together.
Hell yeah, dude.
It was just a really, wholesome thing, just to bring back food for our family. It was something I really cherished and honored. And it was mainly pheasants during the wintertime, and a deer or two if we could get one during the season. Spring turkey was a really big one for us too.
That's awesome.
So yeah, no, it was awesome.
No, I think that's so cool. I think that's a really great point. And if Michael and I have a shortcoming so far on the podcast,
sure.
it's not not taking advantage of like the low tide and the
Yeah.
that side of foraging,
Yeah.
because it does include the responsible harvest of animals and
Absolutely.
things like
Yeah.
that.
I mean,
So maybe you can help us out with that, dude.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it just all makes sense. It's all encompassing, right? Like you can't pick whatever you're picking in the forest without the trees surrounding it, without the canopy layer of leaves,
Mm-hmm.
And obviously
Sure.
the animals around there have to control that too, I love going out in the springtime and just seeing deer munched ramps. It's the funniest thing to me. I don't know why, but it's just like, oh man, deer just been
You guys
munching on
like
these
these
ramps over
too?
here. Yeah, of course they do. It's like one of like the best tasting greens out there. But no, it's funny seeing those things and honestly just appreciating nature. Like
Hmm.
when I was on a nature walk with my girlfriend like 2 weeks ago, and we saw some of the biggest red-headed woodpeckers we had ever seen, man.
Nice.
It was crazy. Like seeing them from like 20 yards away, and you could just hear their entire echo throughout the forest. Beautiful, beautiful thing.
So neat. I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand about hunting and responsible
They think
hunting
it's a
practices.
savage thing.
Well, they don't understand like the amount of conservation that comes into play. Like it is one of the few government programs that actually funnels the money that you get that you spend for your licensing, for the tags, for all that stuff. And it's
Yeah,
like
man. Trout Unlimited, Pheasants Forever, Ducks
Pheasants
Forever, like
Forever. Yeah,
all
I've
those.
donated to them. It's a bigger percentage of your money actually goes into the programs than any other government program. So it's like
Because
say
they're
what you will
required to
about
do
that.
that.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
required to like post like through their
mm-hmm.
meetings. I actually went to a Trout Unlimited chapter meeting, where they just talked about all the finances throughout the year. Like they're not disclosing anything. They're not trying to hide anything.
Yeah, completely
Like what would be their
transparent.
point in that? It's not about greed there. It's about the
Exactly.
conservation.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
it's
and
stayed that way for so long too that it hasn't started lining people's pockets. That people are still in it for the conservation, and it does work.
I think like one of the biggest American like successes that has ever been created was when I think it was Roosevelt created the Workmen's Society, man, and like created and like put people to work to create state parks
Oh,
and
sure.
national parks. I'm forgetting like what like the actual organization was, the WCC, I'm pretty sure. Just can't remember what it stands for. But yeah, man, and from there it just took on a greater appreciation for people. Like people just saw cities get bombed and annihilated, and just to come back and like have like to get like a job basically from the government to be like, here, like go build this state park. Like the amount of like probably PTSD curing that did for a lot of people, man,
Oh
I don't think
yeah,
people really
Sure.
recognize that at
Yeah.
all.
no, I think that's a great point.
And it's not a perfect, not necessarily a perfect foundation. You know, the national parks and state park systems aren't
No, but
perfect,
nothing
but
is.
no, it's
Nothing
not.
is.
And but it's a great start. And it was, it all happened pretty fast, all things considered. Like
Yeah.
large amounts of land were protected, and
And if that didn't
Yeah.
happen, how fucked would we be right now? Probably.
probably more than we already are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man. I mean, I don't even want to think about the consequences, but I think
Yeah.
it just goes more to my point that I was saying before. Like, yeah, these organizations are perfect, just like the slow food movement isn't. Like, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't enact the change.
Oh,
Just because
100%.
it takes a slow time. Like,
Well, it's baby steps. You can't wait for something to be perfect in order to enact it. You have to, get it going and kind of deal with the troubleshooting as you go. Otherwise,
yeah, man, and
it'll never
that's
happen. Perfect is a goalpost that will always be further away.
yeah, 100%. And I think the biggest, at least for me, I think a lot of people are visual learners and learn better visually. I don't know if that's necessarily a stereotype, but I think you can't deny like that actually working with something hands-on that you're not learning more than you would in a textbook,
100%.
Like, and that's why I love cooking, because it's an everyday learning process. Even today, I'm making small diced carrots. Like, my chef comes over and just gives me a little simple technique just to make me go a little bit quicker. I've been in this for 9 years, and it's like there's always little things
Mm-hmm.
to be paying attention to and just learning hands-on. Like I said, I mean, that's why I really like where I work, because people can actually see with their own eyes, like,
Yeah,
this
that's
is where your
awesome.
food is coming from.
You ever
Like,
you ever
this is
teach
not a
your
joke.
your fellow chefs any foraging or anything?
Yeah, I'm trying to get people into it. They think it's fun. Like my chef really likes it. I mean, he has a whole bunch of books too. And when I saw that he had Alan's book up there and Hank
Oh,
Shaw's book,
awesome.
like I was
Very
just
cool.
like, yeah, man. Like, so I actually brought him in some cut leaf tooth wort. So shout out to you, man, for that. That was a
Yeah.
big find this year, dude. Thank you.
Yeah,
That
you liked
was,
it?
It's so good, right?
oh my gosh, dude. Like the tuber, especially, I will say,
Yeah.
has just like I think my executive Stu put it perfectly. It's like an umami like horseradish.
Mm.
Like it's a perfect like blend of like spiciness, but it's not like overwhelming your palate. And the young leaves, though, man, will give you that pungentness that I
yeah,
really
they'll
like.
clear your sinus.
Oh, for sure, man. The flowers I think are the best, but I mean they're gone almost as soon as they come up.
Yeah,
I
they're
mean
so
they're spring
fast.
ephemerals, so it's like you got to pick up on them quick if you want them. But I think those are the best part, in my opinion.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you liked it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. So I actually brought that in. We might do something with it here pretty soon. We put it on a tartar to start. So we're gonna see if
Ooh.
that
There you
sticks.
go.
But we got ideas at the Wahoo, man. No worries.
Shoot, that's a great idea. Is there anything you're looking besides like black locust flowers? Anything you're really looking forward to this year, or something you got like on a bucket list that you want to check off?
Honestly, man, like in terms of edible food,
Not
not too
inedible food.
much. I've one bucket list item in terms of mushrooms I really want to find is I want to find the frost bolete. Boletus, I can't remember. I think it's Boletus fusili, if I'm not mistaken. But it was like
because you silly.
maybe I don't know.
Sorry,
I
that
just
was-
like I said, I'm not the best. I will say outright in front, I'm not on the level of Latin names as a lot of other foragers
that
are.
stuff,
Yeah,
dude.
fuck
But
Latin. Fuck Latin.
it takes a special name, like a special mind, to really get those scientific names down.
I have way too
Um,
many other dumb things in my brain
Yeah,
for that.
me too.
man.
I just
Yeah.
made a Seinfeld reference.
Yeah.
I ain't got no space
Yeah.
for that.
But actually, no. Now that I think of it, I really want to get out here in the next like week or two, see if I can start finding some young pine cones. I really want to make pine cone syrup, and now
Cool.
is actually the time that you want to pick those young buds. So yeah, might see if I can get those pretty soon. What else? I mean, I'm always looking for new mushrooms, man. Like, especially since I'm pretty like new to the game, like considerably. Like I've been doing this for 4 years, which I would consider that. I'm still consider myself a novice. Let's put it that way.
Sure. I think any person with
Um,
a reasonable amount of modesty would consider themselves an eternal student in the
Yeah.
world of foraging.
Oh yeah, 100%. You're never. I mean, even Sam Thayer is probably learning something every day. Who knows? That
Absolutely.
guy does so much digging that.
Wait, no, not him.
I'm
I'm just kidding.
Not
I'm just
him.
kidding.
No,
I was,
he
I was, I
knows
was,
everything.
yeah, I was shaking my head. Nah, Sam knows everything, but I'm just kidding.
I definitely want to make some Nocino this year, man. I really want to get some or some black walnuts
Yep.
early.
Totally
'Cause
worth
that's
it.
always been on my bucket list. I've never done it before, so would like to do that. Yeah, man, those are just a few off the gun. I mean, I'm always looking for some nice lobster mushrooms or chicken of the woods. Would definitely like to find some more maitake this year, man. My
Yeah.
maitake game last year was weak.
Same, dude. Same.
Mine's
But it's
Mine's
like for like
great.
every like 100 oaks you check, you're probably finding like what, one or two trees.
I got a few reliable spots.
Yeah, no, I
Unless
mean,
you're
it's-
Steve, in which case you just come home with pounds and heaps.
What I'm excited for actually that I still need to check out is actually just like southeast of Detroit is actually one of like the original like largest oak savannas
Neat.
that there
Ooh.
is. And I can't remember what the specific parks names are, but I'm definitely trying to check out down there and see if I can pick up some maitakes because you talk oak savanna, like that's just screaming mushrooms to me.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Do that.
So yeah, man, no, it's gonna be a good year, man. Just settling in. It's gonna be a crazy year at the restaurant, man. I mean, we do some numbers. Like we're doing right now, like on a busy weekend, like 300 people a night.
That's,
Like
that's fucking awesome, man. That sounds
Wow,
great.
congrats.
yeah, we have a large restaurant, I will say. I mean, so our restaurant is actually an old deconstructed barn,
Oh,
300
sweet.
years old from Maine, and our restaurant owners, Nicole and Tim Ryan, some of the two nicest people in the entire world. They own a restaurant or restaurant construction company. So they were already just kind of in the business of building restaurants, and they're like, we've always wanted to have this as our dream. So they made it happen 3 years ago. Yeah, we're not even 3 years old as a restaurant yet, so
Wow.
that's really fun just to kind of see some up and coming roots
That's
in the
great, man.
system,
Hell yes.
So it's like I said, man, I'm almost more excited for that because just to actually get on the farm, because that's what my girlfriend and I, we want to do that in the future. That's our goal, is to have our own farm and restaurant
That's a great
concept. I
goal.
would not be doing like 300 people a night though. I want to do like small,
Oh yeah,
like
same.
50 people covers, maybe small tasting menu here and there.
Sure.
But just kind of similar to um, kind of Dan Barber's operation. I don't know if you guys
Yeah,
know who Dan
Stonebridge.
Barber
Yeah, I
is.
know Dan. I know
Yeah,
of
man,
Dan.
he
I don't know
is.
Dan.
Yeah,
Oh, Danny.
Oh yeah,
I was
oh
gonna say,
Danny
yo, man, let me get his number.
Boy.
But no, Dan Barber is a legend in
He is.
farm to
He's a
table
fucking badass.
movement. I hope to have the opportunity in the next few years on my bucket list to go work for him for
Yeah,
a few years.
definitely.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, the restaurant industry, is not perfect. There's a lot of flaws in it, but I think, again, what I'll keep harping on is just because it's hard, that doesn't mean you don't give up. Like there's always ways. And I think, obviously Dan Barber's restaurant, Sylvan Table where I work, were perfect examples of that it can be done.
And how it should
Yeah.
be
You
done.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Fuck
exactly. And doing our best. We're gonna make mistakes along the way, but that's part of the
Absolutely.
journey.
And every iteration is going to get better in the future too. Like the point is to bring people closer to their food. Not like this is a new thing, but like trying to bring us
Mhm.
all back to just being closer to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's
And yeah, that's part of my dream is like I really want to have people that come to my restaurant and come to my farm in, an odd number of years to like leave with the knowledge, not to only be like, wow, that was a great meal, but
Yeah.
like I know why what I ate is what I ate.
Yeah.
Like I know why I was eating it. I know why I was presented a certain way. I want it all. I want all of that to come across because I think that's just such an impacting, like, I think dinner, especially, and
Mhm.
going out to a restaurant is an experience. You remember that.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
to remember something that goes way beyond food, too, is just the biggest difference I think you can make on somebody.
Yeah, well, and I think food is kind of a transformative method of storytelling too. There's some incredible things that can be told through the presence of a plate or just
Or
the
heritage.
journey of the ingredients, the heritage, the people who brought it there. There's so many important things to tell with that food, and like people like someone like me, that's how I understand things.
Yeah.
I'm not a visual learner. I am a tastual learner, where I gotta be eating it, or I'm food motivated. Is I guess how most people would say it. Is that like that's how I get to care about things, and that's something we talk about on this show a lot too. Is that just like that's I think probably one of the that's the target we want to make, is like connecting to people
Yeah.
through their stomachs. So glad
Well,
to have
and
you on
it's
the
not
team,
only
Dave.
that, it's the best part is that it encompasses all of your senses.
Yeah.
You're tasting, you're smelling, you're seeing the food. Like that's like why I love beautiful presentation of food.
Yeah, you have some
I
great
think
plates
that's an
on your
important.
Insta.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. I mean, talk about one person that goes above and beyond, man. I mean, Alan's dishes, like when he gets in the zone, that dude can pump out some gorgeous looking plates.
Sure.
Okay? Like, holy crap.
And how cool?
Yeah.
So I guess touching back on like what you were talking about the right ingredients and introducing people to these right ingredients, letting them know why. Like to have somebody like you who knows the backstory, who knows the path where they found this ramp, and who knows all the hard work that went into growing this honey nut squash instead of just a random butternut squash, like. And then to have you prepare it, because you know that anyone can slap a steak on a grill, but if you have somebody that knows the origins of that piece of meat and knows that it was, grass-fed, raised at this place, that it needs to be treated with respect, and that the person that you're serving it to is going to have, something that it's like putting putting a tool in the hand of a carpenter as opposed to like putting a tool in the hand of like, you know, an everyday like dude, you know, like they might know how to use it, but a carpenter is going to know how to use it properly and is going to give you like the best product ultimately. So, and that's so cool. What better way for people to learn about something and to receive something than from in that, you know, atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why chefs just have a huge role to play in all of this.
Agreed.
You know, and I think that's just why I kind of fell in love with this journey because, you know, we touched on this before, like this conversation was just like being a chef is more than just being a chef. You know, that's like I feel like the term being called chef encompasses so much more. It encompasses detail orientation, it encompasses time management, it encompasses creativity, it encompasses team building. Like it's all of the above, man. And it's like I would just encourage anybody to just work in the restaurant industry for just 2 years, you know? Because frankly, it's gonna bust a lot of people's balls, but frankly, man, a lot of people in this world need to get their balls busted sometimes. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's just
word.
like it
For
it will
sure.
show you a whole nother level of hospitality if you work at some of the right places or some of the wrong places. That's important too. I've worked at places I haven't liked. You know, I'm sure we all have, but you know, you learn from that, and I feel that just the all-around hospitality and restaurant industry shows a lot of those details to people and shows, you know, even why dishwashing is so important, man. The most important person, I will argue, in any goddamn kitchen is the dishwasher. Because without dishes, you don't have your food. You don't have anything to put your food on. And yeah, chef could just slap in the dish room, but to be organized and to learn organization and, you know, cleanliness, like that's the biggest thing. That's like the basics.
Yeah. Well, and I think
You know,
it's
like
in kind of like a hierarchical way too. It's like respect should start at the bottom too. Like you're all part of this big foundation or you know structure that holds up the ability for people to go out and experience food in this way. So for one, you know, for any of them to be viewed as less important or less crucial to every part of that process is denying that it's a machine, you know, and that like one
it
cog and it
is.
doesn't one cog gone and it doesn't run.
Exactly. You know, it's a fine working machine, and some of the best restaurants in the world, man, I will guarantee you have that stuff down to just like a science. Like,
Yeah.
and it's, I mean, I'm not going to totally agree with the brigade system of like, for all the chefs listening, like, we all know what the brigade system is, you know, in terms of like chef de partie, you know, going up to sous chef and executive,
Oh, right,
executive
right, right.
Sure,
sous,
sure.
you know, so on and so forth. Like, there's a level of respect for that that I feel like a lot of people don't understand or think is just too harsh. And while I will agree that it has gotten out of control in a lot of kitchens and a lot of like Michelin driven kitchens, I think it also provides a balance that is needed and that essentially as like an army functions, you know, is like you need people in their places where they need to be and know what they need to do, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you can't rely on the people that you're standing next to for 12 hours a day plus, man, like what are you doing? Like you have no trust there. And without trust, like a proper restaurant does not work.
100%. Yeah, I mean that's I mean hold those values. You can transfer that to just about any occupation or any family dynamic, honestly. If you can't be held up by the people around you, like nobody's going anywhere.
No. Yeah, but then there comes also a level of respect and a
Yeah.
level of leaving your ego at the door sometimes. You know, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing that I'm still in the process of learning because, you know, I mean, sometimes restaurant culture can be a little hostile, man. Like you're trying to fight to get your
I've
dish on the
never heard
menu.
that. No way.
Yeah, right. Well, like you're trying to like get your dish on the menu over somebody else's, or like you're just trying to push to outperform, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where it can be fun sometimes because it can be a competitive environment. I think competitiveness to a degree is extremely helpful for people. It pushes them and drives them to a point that they never would have gone to before,
Sure.
you know? Like maybe some strong-willed people in the universe like could push themselves, but like they'll never push you like to where you think you can't go. I like that.
Totally agree. I think it takes a very specific person to be entirely self-driven, and
But then
even
knowing the humility level, like
yeah,
knowing where to
yeah,
cut the line of
yeah,
like, okay, where can I think I heard this the other day. I was listening to an audiobook of like where it takes a lot to be an independent person, but you cannot run forever as an independent person. You need to be
mm-hmm,
interdependent.
mm-hmm,
An independent person learns that at a certain point that they cannot no longer be just independent on themselves. And I think
yeah,
that's a really crucial saying that I think people need to memorize.
yeah, yeah. I think it would give people some pretty valuable perspective. Um, well,
But yeah, man.
we should probably start
That's my
wrapping it
TED
up.
talk. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good. I think the main takeaway from what you said is like chefs have a really, really important part to play in all this, and I think that's totally
They
true.
do,
The
man.
culture of restaurants and going out to eat in America and across the world, not just here in America, everywhere. Um, it's yeah, I mean it's a really important vector point for these ideas and for this freshness of food and just exposing people to new ideas because
Yeah,
everybody gets
and in
hungry
turn, you're
eventually.
benefiting the. I mean, and that's I think the ultimate thing, right? Is that food is one of the three necessities:
Yeah.
food, water, shelter.
Yep.
You know, and obviously, like I would argue that you need probably food more than you probably need shelter, but you definitely need water. Uh, but yeah, I mean,
Survival
it's
guides
an
would
important
disagree. It's shelter first.
shelter first. Okay, well,
Shelter first
I
always.
honestly I can't disagree with that. Once you get the shelter up, you can, yeah, that is
Because if you
crucial.
got
I mean, I
food,
have watched a
you're
lot of Alone. I have watched a
yeah,
lot of Alone. That's like
Me
the first thing that
too.
they
yeah.
do.
They set up camp. Yeah.
But yeah, man, no, I think obviously again, food has an extremely important part. I think that's where foraging is so fun because there's
Yeah.
so many new things to learn, and that you can't get in the grocery store, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the best part about it is it's free, baby.
Free 99.
Free 99.
Danny, it's been really awesome talking with you. We should.
No,
I
thank
mean,
you guys.
we ended up
Pleasure.
talking a little bit more about like the kitchen and stuff, working environment, but definitely should have you back sometime. Talk about one of your favorite plants or ingredients or something like that. Do a little episode like that. It'd be cool to have you.
I will say one of my favorite plants before we leave that I finally found, could not find it for the life of me, was Galleon triflorum. I finally found some the other day.
Oh, sweet,
Super hyped.
sweet hay or
Yeah, the sweet bedstraw, man.
sweet bedstraw. Yeah.
Because I'm always finding just the regular cleavers, was never finding the sweet bedstraw. So
Yeah.
got that checked off the list. Favorite.
Are you gonna try and make the vanilla extract?
Yeah, so I haven't tried it. I'm gonna look up a few recipes, but yeah, I might even try making a new tincture. We'll see. We'll see.
Oh.
Heck yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Congrats.
Awesome, guys. Well, again, thank you guys for having me on. You guys are awesome. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you. You too, man. Keep it up. You're inspiring.
You guys as well, man. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
You have a great week.
You as well, brothers.
Bye.
Peace.
Danny Pejsa.
Dan the man.
Danny Pejsa. Yeah, I love that guy. Hung out a couple weeks ago and went on a walk, tried to find some early season morels or anything, and totally struck out, but still had a
Nice.
nice, good hang. And
And you introduced him to Cutleaf Tooth War, which
yeah,
is
of
nice.
course. Yeah, got his first.
One of our faves.
Got his teeth cut on cutleaf toothwort. There's my other hand.
That was good. That was good. That was a good Seinfeld.
Anyway, yeah. Follow Danny. Check him out at outdoorsman_chef. Very cool. As Steve said, awesome plating.
Yeah.
He's pretty informative. He's
Obviously very passionate about his ingredients.
super passionate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's starting to get in front of the camera a little bit more. But yeah, he's doing all sorts of stuff, and he's out there. Less than 1,000 followers, guys. Come on. Boost that number.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Follow him. He's really cool. Yeah. Other than that, check out our merch always. We still got Thayer shirts available. Still got hot sauce available.
More importantly, we got lots of love for you, and
So
that's
much love.
totally free.
Yeah, totally
It's
free.
free.
Free
Just
99.
take it.
Yep.
Just
If you guys want to write a review for the podcast, if you love our show, write a review, send us a screenshot in the email or on Instagram and your address, and I'll send you some free stickers. Or you could buy something from the store, and I always throw in literally like 3 stickers and a keychain and a magnet if I'm feeling extra spicy.
Crazy.
If I'm feeling crazy. But yeah, check out our store. Love you guys.
Bye.
Wowie wow! We've got a new hot sauce for you.
It's so delicious.
It's spicy.
It's spicier for sure.
Spicier. It's called Harvest Moon, made with ghost peppers, American persimmons,
and spice bush berry.
It's gonna be great. We also have t-shirts available. Brand new t-shirts.
The best t-shirts, I think.
Baseball tees.
Scrumpers United.
If you've collected apples, if you've collected fruit, you're
Welcome to the club.
You're welcome to a club. You're a scrumper. So check out our merch store, wildedibleworldpod.myshopify.com. Wowie wow!